You don't have issues with consistency. You have an intensity addiction. And it's the reason nothing is sticking. Because every time you decide to change, you don't adjust your life. You try to overcorrect it. You go from zero to everything all at once. And for a moment, it feels powerful. It feels lasting. It feels like it's gotta work. Like this time, you're different. But then you disappear again. Why does something that feels like commitment keep leading to collapse? Going all in sounds strong. The identity behind all in. It usually comes from frustration. Usually comes from guilt. Comes from feeling behind. Trying to make up for lost time. So instead of building forward, you try to compensate. That's why it's extreme. That's why it's unsustainable. Because it's not built from structure, it's built from emotion. And emotion spikes. Emotion spikes, they just don't last. Here's the pattern that it's constantly on repeat. And it's hidden. You fall off. You feel it. You get frustrated. Then you say, all right, now I'm going all in. But that decision is the farthest from strategic. It's reactive, emotional. So what you're really doing is you're using intensity to escape the feeling of falling behind, not to build something sustainable. That's why the cycle never breaks. Here's our first case study. The overcorrection loop. All right, we have Chris. Let's call him Chris. Chris has been inconsistent. And he knows it. He feels it. So one day he decides that I'm done playing around. Next day, he wakes up early, cuts everything off, tries to operate at maximum output. And for a few days, he feels unstoppable. But underneath that, his real system has not changed. His identity hasn't stabilized. His environment hasn't adjusted. So by day 5, day 6, the pressure builds, fatigue builds, resistance builds. Then he slows down. Then he stops. And now the frustration is worse because he proved to himself he can't maintain it. That's the real damage. Intensity. Why does it feel like progress? Intensity gives you it's like a false signal. It makes you feel productive. It convinces you you're focused or you're ahead. But that's just a spike. It's not authentic progress. Because progress isn't how hard you went today. It's what you can repeat tomorrow. And intensity, it breaks repeatability. You're skipping the middle. That's the real problem. I'm going to break it down to where it becomes just a little more clear. Because there's 3 levels. Inactive, structured, high performance. When you go all in, you try to jump from 1 to 3. From inactive to a high performer. You skip structure completely. So there's nothing holding you there. And without structure, you always fall back. It's the case study number 2. The structured climb. All right, let's look at Mike. Mike doesn't try to change everything overnight. He builds one structure, one consistent action daily. At first, it feels small, almost too simple. But he keeps it day after day. Then he adds another layer, then another. No spikes, no burnout, just straight progression. And over time, he becomes the version that Chris was trying to force. That's the difference. Burnout. The psychology behind burnout. Burnout isn't just physical, it's psychological. It happens when your output doesn't match your structure. It happens when your expectations exceed your capacity. It happens when your identity isn't aligned with your actions. So when you go too hard, your mind starts resisting. And don't get it confused, because it's not because you're incapable, it's not because you're weak, but because it's unsustainable. Consistency is an identity, it's not a habit. Consistency isn't something you try to do. It's something you become. People who stay inconsistent identify with intensity. People who move forward identify with stability. They don't rely on energy. They rely on patterns. The real way to build momentum. You don't build momentum by just going hard. You build momentum by not breaking the pattern. That means showing up when it's boring. That means showing up when it's slow. That means showing up when there's no immediate reward. Because that's what makes it stick. Stop asking, how can I go harder? Let's change the things you ask yourself. What can I repeat without breaking? That's the type of question that it changes everything. Because now you're building. You're building stability. You're building structure. You're building an identity, not just effort. And if you've been going all in and falling off, it's not because you lack discipline. It's because you've been chasing intensity instead of building consistency. And until that changes, the cycle repeats. But the moment you shift to less emotion, more structure, less spikes, more stability, that's when things start sticking. That's when progress becomes real. And that's when you stop starting over and finally start moving forward. This is Results.